Okay, so if you can fill out the next question as well, please, on the same survey.
Is the survey the address at the bottom?
That one, yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure, that's fine. These are more for informational purposes. There will be more stuff later that's a bit more content related, but this we would like to just know a little about you guys. If you came in later, then just so you know, we are recording this, and so if you have any questions, let us know. The second thing I was going to say about that, actually, should have mentioned that. If you get sit in the back there, if you whisper, we can probably still hear it on camera, so just so you know. And if you want to say something, obviously you can do it outside, but it's a very sensitive microphone apparently, so you guys in the corner are especially on alert, I guess. Right, if everyone has filled out the next one as well, I guess then we're ready to get started. Right, so thanks again for coming. My name is Oliver Hauser. I'm a postdoc at HBS and also associated with the Behavioral Insights group here at Harvard. And I'm going to be telling you about our experimental pitch innovation competition. This is the second time we're running this, and we're excited to see so many new faces and some people who have, I know and I've seen around as well. We're excited that you're here, and hopefully you're going to gain a lot from coming to these different lectures and course modules. So I want to start by going back to exactly the survey we just did. And so in fact, the first question that we asked, in particular, to just kind of get a view of who most of you are. This is just, not just for us actually, it's also good for you guys to know who are the other people in the room, what are their backgrounds. A little bit unsurprisingly, we have quite a few people from the Kennedy School. Probably has to do with the fact that a lot of you guys don't have to come very far. Very little friction. Another reason is that the Behavioral Insights group is housed here, and a lot of the courses related to it are here. But we also have a few people from, I assume, Max's class, MBA program, some undergrad, that's great, and then people from all sorts of other schools, including PhD. And I'm very curious if you're one of the other, tell me afterwards, because we would like to make sure that we know where we're reaching people. I think what's important about this is that the diversity you see in the different people who are here today reflects also the big diversity and interest that Behavioral Insights has now garnered around the world and across different fields. So with that, I would like to introduce you to the Behavioral Insights group and start with the faculty. And in fact, you now have to imagine everything that I cleverly put into gray and very light colors, they are not visible. But there's a circle around here, right? Like, no one puts a faculty just in the middle of nothing. So basically there's a circle around this saying that the faculty were the beginning circle of people who were interested in behavioral insights here at Harvard. And some of the people, either you've already met them, but if not, then I really encourage you to reach out. They are world experts in behavioral science, behavioral economics, psych, all sorts of different fields. And they are shaping all of the research we're going to be talking about and the methods we're using. They're shaping this here. They came together in like 2001 or so and had this idea of building a group that was interested in behavioral science, especially how it's applied to the real world. But very soon after, a couple of students showed up and said, we too want to hear about this, we want to be involved, we want to get something out from this. And at first I think the faculty was surprised, positively surprised, but also didn't exactly know what they should be offering. That solved very quickly because we've had such an increase in number of courses in this field in the last few years that clearly there's a lot of things you can do now, lots of resources, and I'm going to tell you a bit about that in a second. The students, in fact, themselves have also organized, which is called the Behavioral Insights Study Group, and this actually was a student initiative last year, and that's how it came about. And then lastly, the third arm to this to the Behavioral Insights Group is outside partners. So we also have a lot of organizations, businesses, and governments that we're working with, and that interact both with the faculty and the students. And so everyone here is kind of involved, and we're going to try to bring exactly that in here, right? Like using a bit of the research that the faculty are creating, as well as how this can apply to the real world. And to do so, as I said, there's lots of different, there's lots of offerings to you guys in terms of courses, and we actually have a suggested curriculum on the website that you can check out if you haven't already done so. It's probably too small to see all of these courses, but these are just the ones at the Kennedy School that are offered that can be a very good toolbox if you want to apply behavioral insights in organizations or in other research as well. And you have top people like Max Beserman, Todd Rogers, Richard Madrian, Cass Sunstein, Richard Seikauser. I mean, the list goes on. It's pretty crazy that all of these people who have shaped this field in the last 20, 30 years, or most of them, are somehow associated with this. I want to draw your attention to two courses in particular, and that's Max Beserman's course, the IFC, UK and the Netherlands Behavioral Insights. So Max teaches this course primarily for MBA students, but also MPA students, and I think also a few people from School of Public Health, with the intention that you actually work with organizations on problems that need to be solved, and you are trying to use experiments and behavioral insights to do that. So this is really a course where you get hands-on experience working with organizations. It's fantastic. If you haven't had the chance to do it yet, well, try maybe to think about it next year, because I think this year is already full. And it's definitely recommended in that regard. And a lot of the things we are going to be talking about here will be, you can apply right there in that course. Same with Todd's course. His focus is also on experiments, but in particular how you come up with good interventions. So it's also sort of a research course a bit, but again with the application in mind. And then obviously we have a lot to choose from. In fact, one of the things when I looked at this is, I forgot to mention a particular one that's very new, I believe, which is Iris Bonnett's course. And it's called Behavioral Economics for Organizations, so you can kind of guess what this is about. So again, great courses. I think this one just started this week. And hopefully the things you're learning in here are the practical tools that you can take and apply in these classes. Just so you know, across Harvard there's a lot of things to cross-register. And we were excited, right? Like we put this out about 2-3 years ago now, this curriculum. We thought, come on, these classes over here, and then all of these, they'll cover everything there is to know about behavioral economics, behavioral insights. And I think it does a pretty good job at that. But one question kept coming up, which is, how do you actually run an experiment? So we learn everything about the history of behavioral economics, some details of like how to write models, how to test things. But very often these are things that you're taught in lectures. And very rarely you actually get to design your own experiment. Perhaps Max's class is one of the exceptions to that. But we also realized that a lot of students just want to get down to actually trying to randomize themselves, try to think about what are the other things, that the problems you run into, what are things that I haven't even thought about that could lead to problems down the road. And this is where we thought, this is a niche that we should really fill, because at the end of the day, you guys want to come out and hopefully go into organizations or research or something in government, and you want to apply this and not think, this was great that I took so many courses on the topic, but I just don't know where to start. So this is where we're setting on with this course. However, just so you know, we thought about actually making this an actual course, and then if you haven't been at Harvard before, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved with setting up courses and things like that, so we were like, let's not do that for now. In particular, because we didn't want to just restrict it to one group of people. So if you had done this just at Kennedy School, maybe even more, or maybe just people from the Kennedy School would have come. Or one of the schools, there tends to be a tendency for that to happen. We want this to be open to anyone who's interested. And so we obviously had to come up with an idea how you would still show up for this. I'd like to believe that we're really good about the name, so I'll tell you why we chose this name, and hopefully it makes you want to come back again. So one of them is experimental, because this is about experiments. We thought we should give you a hint right from the start what this is about. Someone had this idea of calling it pitch, and everyone likes to hear their own voice, so we thought that's going to be attractive as well. You can go out and pitch this idea. Innovation, turns out that's a really sexy word at Harvard. Everyone wants to be innovative. You guys are innovative, I assume, right? Lots of, I agree. So that works too for us. There's competition. Last time I taught this, the first question was, obviously, because this is Harvard, what are the prizes for the competition? To make sure you don't have to ask this, I'm not going to tell you. It might be all the way from tons of money to just chocolate. I don't know. We're going to keep this a secret until you actually take part in the competition. Or maybe a little bit closer to the competition itself. But there will be prizes, and there will be something that you can hopefully take away after you've run your experiments. Not just learning it, but also some prizes. And lastly, we thought a really good acronym would do it too. So you'll be one of the Harvard students who have taken an epic course at Harvard. So there you go. Hopefully this will be a couple of reasons why you should come back. But if not, then here's a few more. We would like to teach you guys a lot there is to know about behavioral insights and economics, as I've said before, how it applies to public policy but also business. We would like to make sure that you not just learn the theory of randomization, but also the practice. We're going to talk about also alternatives to randomization, which we think is important because it highlights why you should randomize whenever you can. We're going to talk about, which is, a lot of other courses will try to touch on that as well, this theory of behavior and how you can affect change. How do you ask the right questions and then get the right outcomes for it? This is a popular one. We're going to do some stats as well, and I'm not entirely sure what your backgrounds are, but I know that some people really dislike the idea of math or statistics, so we're going to try to not make this a course about this, but tell you the things that you need to know to actually really well evaluate the outcomes that you have. We're also going to talk about some of these more advanced concepts. They're not necessarily the most difficult, but they are very important for this to work, which is things like spillover, stratification, block randomization, things like that. And then finally, one of the things that people came up to us to say as well is, how do you actually use certain tools, right? In research at least, we use a lot of tools like power calculations. Sorry, actually I meant the next one, sorry. So like things like Qualtrics, mTurk, G-Power, which you can use to do power calculations, data, things like that. We're going to cover a whole range of these. We're not going to make you an expert in them, but we're going to make sure that you know how to use them when you have data in your hands and evaluate it. By the way, I should say we're going to make this more interactive. This is just a lot of information. You're welcome to ask questions at any time, obviously, but there's going to be also much more interactive parts to this. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the modules as well, so you kind of get a sense for what to expect over the next few weeks. We're starting today here with our introduction session. It's going to be probably the least practical, so to speak, because we're not going to talk about certain concept that you'll apply to your own data set. We're going to do that in other sections. In general, we're going to have a couple of these: experiments, randomization, successful experiments, analyzing the results. These are more like me telling you about things that you should probably know, with some practical advice. You can always ask questions, of course. There will also be some interactive parts, but they are more to give you the foundation for this. By the way, we're going to probably send this out, so you don't have to necessarily take pictures, but you're welcome to. So you'll make sure that you get the materials and the video, things like that. I'll highlight the workshops, these two here, randomization in practice and learn the tools of the trade. These are going to be more chill, I would say, in the sense that we're going to sit together, have some food, and just talk about certain problems you might have run into, either in your classes, as well as data sets that I'll give you, and then you just have to figure it out. And I'll be around to help you with it. I'll give you hints of how to do it. But the idea is that we're going to sit together for 2 hours or so and make this a workshop, actually getting your hands on data. And then finally, we have guest speakers throughout the semester. And it's very exciting, actually, because some of these people are big names in the field, and they're coming just to speak to us, so hopefully you'll have a chance to meet them and ask questions. Our first speaker is going to be Francesca Gino. She is a professor at the Harvard Business School. If you don't know her name already, or if you don't know her as a professor, definitely take one of her courses, read up on her papers. She's one of the most prolific researchers alive right now, so you should definitely know what she's up to. She'll tell you about some of her exciting research. And then the second guest speakers we have confirmed are the Behavioral Insights team, also quite famous these days, and the Nudge unit in the UK. We're going to have Michael Saunders, who is the head of research at BIT, and Kate Glazebrook, who runs diversity and inequality topics at BIT. And in particular, they have recently spun out a company, basically, that focuses specifically on trying to reduce bias, implicit bias, and discrimination in the hiring process. So she's going to talk to us as well. We're going to perhaps have a couple more guest speakers, but we'll tell you when they come. Any questions on this, by the way? Yeah.
So experiments, we can design those experiments, or are they pre-selected? Is there?
You mean for the competition or for?
For the competition, actually.
Yes, that's right. So I should have said that's right. Last year, what we did is we had teams start with a project from the start. And we try to do, basically, I think what you're hinting at is you have a project, and as we go along, we teach you how to randomize for your specific project. It worked quite well for some of the teams. Unfortunately for others, who went at different speeds. It didn't work out in that, at that same rate. So what we thought instead to do this year is we're separating those two things out and giving you a bit more time. So now in the fall we have more me giving you either data or certain things that I think, I'll tell you how we're thinking about this and then you implement it. And then towards the end of the semester, as this deadline is approaching, I'm going to give you examples of experiments that you could, or projects you could do together with other students. And so then you actually start randomizing, planning it out, and we will still be around, but we want to give you guys more time going over the spring to actually have a lot of data by the time you get to the competition and the pitching stage. Right, that's actually a nice lead into a couple of the examples from what we had last semester. A few of the projects that I would like to mention. Now, just to give you a bit of a flavor, this will be different every year, right? Like we are always trying to find something new and exciting. We're trying to work with people outside Harvard or inside. Some of the projects you're going to do might be in a lab or in the field. But last year we had primarily field experiments, including here at Harvard. So this was a test on labels on sugary drinks in the cafeteria. And we have actually one of the researchers right behind you guys. So if you have any questions, that was a big success. And I think one of the things that we learned from this is simply how this was a smaller project at the beginning, and I think Laura, you can speak to this more, but this has now grown into a full research project, which is very exciting.
We just got preliminary results, and we're hoping to publish in a major public health journal. So fingers crossed.
So that's definitely awesome. Another project which was, this was mostly in the planning stage because it is so big that there wasn't enough time to actually pull it off. This was a team that focused on increasing the effectiveness of teachers in Peru. And they worked with the government there together. They set up the experiment. It takes a long time sometimes to work with government, so at the time when they pitched this to us, they were just getting ready to launch it. So I'll let you guys know if in the course of this semester I'll find out how it worked, but it's quite exciting. It's a big project to send out leaflets to teachers so they know how they compare in their effectiveness to other teachers in the area, and hopefully trying to boost like all sorts of concerns that they had about how teachers maybe not doing their best. Maybe this is the way to do it. And then lastly, we had a charity here in Cambridge who were interested in trying to get people to walk more and bike more. And so this was an email campaign that was sent out to encourage employees at different companies to take up this program, and the employers as well. So this is just a bit of a variety of different things. Obviously, we're curious to hear about your ideas. And what we are also going to try to do is provide you with some frameworks of what kind of projects are most feasible to get done in the time that we have over this year. But this will come later in the semester. So here's another question that we like to get. Who is this course for? In many ways, it's for everyone who's interested in this and who is willing to learn as much as they can. So you don't have to know Stata or any of the scary stats programs unless you want to. It will help. I will occasionally throw in some things that might be useful for that, but you don't have to. You don't need to know a lot of stats either. We're going to cover the basics and the things you'll need to know. And you don't have to come to all of these classes. And we had a discussion about how we're going to approach this, because as we thought about this, actually setting this up as a course, it would make it much easier if everyone came regularly, and we knew that you would be here and there would be problem sets and things like that. And we, on purpose, decided against that. We know that you guys are busy, we know that you have a lot going on, and we want to make this something that you can participate in. And we think the more you do participate in, the more you'll get out of it. But there's no attendance, no grading of any sort. I was joking before, maybe we'll have a quiz, but that's definitely not going to happen. So we're trying to keep this informal, but hopefully you will gain a lot from it by attending all of the sessions.
Sorry, is it always going to be this time and day, or?
No, we're going to move it around. Is it? Yeah. It's a good question actually. Let me just go back. Here are some of the dates. Now this may change depending on, we're trying to work around lots of different schedules from different schools. But these are just the tentative dates that we have outlined. And again, they will change different times during the week. And we'll also update you on the location. So these are the things you'll get in emails from us if you sign up for the mailing list that I think Chabelle has over there, that you can sign up at the end. Yeah, good question. So let's see. You don't need to be part of all the exercises either, but you're going to learn a lot from it. And then the last thing is, again, like, ask questions. Try to get the most out of this. I'm happy to stay afterwards and we can talk about your project or things you'd like to know. Because this is what this is all about. That you can learn as much as possible in the time that we have. One more joke about the attendance thing. I was telling you we don't have to commitment device, you have to come. Right? Like there's no exam, there's no taking attendance when you walk into a room. But because we're in a behavioral science sort of class, I would like to point out how terribly awful it's going to feel when you lose out on the opportunity to learn all of the things that we're going to have lined up for you. So loss aversion is going to kick in at 3 a.m. in the morning when you miss one of our sessions and you wish you had come. Alright, so last thing is I'm Oliver, as I said before. I'm a postdoc at the Harvard Business School, and I'm also a half postdoc, a visiting postdoc at Yelp, the review platform, to run large experiments with customers, employees, and all sorts of things. I did my PhD actually here at Harvard. That's how I got involved in the student side of things and also with research. I worked in my PhD on cooperation, and in particular at the beginning on theory. So why do people cooperate? How do they do it? What are mechanisms that might strengthen or work against it? So there's a lot of game theory in there. But eventually, halfway through, I was like, this is cool that we can make these predictions, but do people actually do it? And then I got interested in actually testing this, and most of my PhD at the end was about testing it in the lab or online. We had predictions about how people would cooperate. We then tried it out, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And towards the end, I was like, so this is cool too. Now we know we can manipulate these things in the lab or online, but does it actually work in the real world, right? Can we make people either happier, giving more to charity, pay their taxes on time, things like that? And that's how I got involved in applying this to organizations and governments. I've worked with a bunch of these companies. I worked at the Behavioral Insights team a few years ago. So that's the one I'm going to talk about a bit more, because they were very important for all of the developments that we're going to talk about here, and probably one reason many of you are in this room. The New Mexico government, Deloitte, O-Power, these are the guys that do the social norms in electricity bills and so forth. If you ever get one that says like, this is how much energy you're using, and then another bar of energy, how much your neighbors are using, that's O-Power. They came up with this idea. And the researcher behind it was Robert Cialdini, and we're going to talk about social norms quite a bit. It's also an important concept. Global Giving, these are charities, Kiva, Donors, Choose.org, and many more. If you're interested in like how some of these things would apply in certain fields, or if there are certain companies working on them, let's chat afterwards. I'm happy to tell you more about this. Okay, so if you can fill out the next question as well, please, on the same survey.
Is the survey the address at the bottom?
That one, yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure, that's fine. These are more for informational purposes. There will be more stuff later that's a bit more content related, but this we would like to just know a little about you guys. If you came in later, then just so you know, we are recording this, and so if you have any questions, let us know. The second thing I was going to say about that, actually, I should have mentioned that. If you get sit in the back there, if you whisper into gray and very light colors, they're not visible. But there's a circle around here, right? Like no one puts a faculty just in the middle of nothing. So basically, there's a circle around this saying that the faculty were the beginning circle of people who were interested in behavioral insights here at Harvard. And some of the people, either you've already met them, but if not, then I really encourage you to reach out. They are world experts in behavioral science, behavioral economics, psych, all sorts of different fields, and they are shaping all of the research we're going to be talking about and the methods we're using. They're shaping this here. They came together in like 2001 or so and had this idea of building a group that was interested in behavioral science, especially how it's applied to the real world. But very soon after, a couple of students showed up and said, you can probably still hear it on camera, so just so you know. And if you want to say something, obviously you can do it outside, but it's a very sensitive microphone apparently, so you guys in the corner are especially on alert, I guess. Right, if everyone has filled out the next one as well, I guess then we're ready to get started. Right, so thanks again for coming. My name is Oliver Hauser. I'm a postdoc at HBS and also associated with the Behavioral Insights group here at Harvard. And I'm going to be telling you about our experimental pitch innovation competition. This is the second time we're running this. And we're excited to see so many new faces and some people who have, I know and I've seen around as well. We're excited that you're here, and hopefully you're going to gain a lot from coming to these different lectures and course modules. So I want to start by going back to exactly the survey we just did. And so in fact, the first question that we asked, in particular, to just kind of get a view of who most of you are. This is just, not just for us actually, it's also good for you guys to know who are the other people in the room, what are their backgrounds. A little bit unsurprisingly, we have quite a few people from the Chinese school. Probably has to do with the fact that a lot of you guys don't have to come very far. Very little friction. Another reason is that the Behavioral Insights group is housed here, and a lot of the courses related to it are here. But we also have a few people from, I assume, Max's class, MBA program, some undergrad, that's great, and then people from all sorts of other schools, including PhD. And I'm very curious if you're one of the other, tell me afterwards, because we would like to make sure that we know where we're reaching people. I think what's important about this is that the diversity you see in like the different people who are here today reflects also the big diversity and interest that Behavioral Insights has now garnered around the world and across different fields. So with that, I would like to introduce you to the Behavioral Insights group and start with the faculty. And in fact, you now have to imagine everything that I cleverly put in